I don't think I'll ever forget the sound of that horn. It wasn't just a car warning someone to move. It was a scream. One long blaring note that tore through the air and split my heart wide open. I turned, and there she was, Lily. My 6-year-old baby girl frozen in the middle of the road, holding the stuffed bunny I'd just told her not to drop. There was a truck coming, fast, too close, too loud. I dropped the grocery bag. Didn't even feel the glass jar break against my leg. I just ran. I didn't reach her. Someone else did. He came out of nowhere. 1 second it was headlights and terror, and the next, he was there. A blur of black. His arm caught her waist, his body twisted, and the two of them rolled to the edge of the street, the truck skidding to a stop inches away. When I reached them, I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. Lily was crying into his chest, clutching at his shirt like she knew him, like he was safety itself. My whole body shook. I grabbed her, pulled her into my arms, whispering over and over, "You're okay, you're okay, you're okay," even though I didn't believe it. He stood, slow and steady, brushing the dust off his sleeves. Black shirt, top button undone, sleeves rolled up just enough to show veins that spoke of strength, not vanity. He wasn't like anyone from my world. His eyes were cold at first, flat, almost assessing. But when he looked down at Lily, something shifted. The edge softened. "You should keep a tighter hold on her," he said. His voice was deep, not loud, not scolding, just final, like he didn't waste words. I wanted to tell him thank you, to fall apart right there and say he'd saved the only thing that mattered in my entire life. But the words wouldn't come. My throat locked up. I just nodded, trembling. He looked at me a second longer, eyes moving from my hands shaking against Lily's hair to the bruise forming on my knee. "You hurt?" he asked. I shook my head. "No, just..." My voice cracked. "Thank you." He nodded once, like it wasn't a big deal, and then turned to leave. But something in me refused to let him go. Maybe it was gratitude, maybe shock, maybe something else I didn't have a name for. His calm, it didn't match the chaos around him. People stared, traffic stopped. My heart was still somewhere in my throat, and he was just walking away like saving lives was a regular part of his afternoon. "Wait," I called out. He turned halfway, expression unreadable. I didn't catch your name." He hesitated, then said, "Adrian." Just that. No last name, no smile, no goodbye, and then he was gone. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed, watching Lily breathe, every rise and fall of her chest a reminder of how close I came to losing her. My mind kept looping the scene, his arm, his voice, his eyes. That name, Adrian, I should have let it go, but I couldn't, because something about him didn't add up. The way he looked at me, sharp, calculated, like he already knew things I hadn't said. And the way the world seemed to move around him, like even chaos made room for him to pass. The next morning, I took Lily to school, kissed her forehead, and forced myself to smile. I told myself life had to go back to normal, that I couldn't keep thinking about a stranger. But when I turned the key in my car that afternoon, there was a folded envelope on the passenger seat. No stamp, no handwriting, just my name. Inside was a single piece of paper with one line written in black ink. "Keep her close. The man you left won't stay gone." My blood ran cold. I hadn't told anyone where I lived since I moved here. Not my parents, not my friends, and definitely not my ex-husband. He'd been charming once, the kind of man who said the right things until he decided you weren't his anymore. The day I left, I took Lily and a bruise across my ribs. I thought we were safe. Until now. My hands shook so hard the paper rattled. I scanned the parking lot. Nothing. No one. Just cars and sunlight and silence that felt wrong. That night, I locked every window, every door. I told Lily it was a game. We built a castle in the living room. Pillows, blankets, her stuffed bunny standing guard. I didn't tell her why I kept checking the blinds. I didn't tell her I heard a car idle outside twice. When it finally stopped, I thought maybe it was just paranoia. Until someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. Not loud, not impatient. Just deliberate. "Who is it?" I asked, voice low. Silence. I moved to the door, every nerve screaming not to open it. But before I could decide, a voice came through, calm and familiar. It's me. Adrian. I froze. I cracked the door just enough to see him standing there in that same black shirt, sleeves rolled up, his expression unreadable but focused. You shouldn't open the door without checking first, he said, stepping past me before I even invited him in. My chest tightened. What are you doing here? He scanned the room once, eyes flicking to the curtains, the locks, then back to me. You got my message. That was you? Who else would it be? I don't know, you didn't even know my name. He looked at me then, and the smallest hint of a smile touched his mouth. I do now. He walked closer, slow, deliberate. Your ex-husband's been asking questions. About you. About the girl. You think you're hiding, but you're not. The air left my lungs. How do you know that? He didn't answer right away. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small phone, sliding it across the counter toward me. Keep this. If anything happens, you call the number saved in it. Don't call anyone else. I don't even know who you are, I said, my voice breaking. You saved my daughter, then break into my life like this isn't insane. He met my eyes, steady, unflinching. Insane would be pretending you're not in danger. I wanted to tell him to leave, to take his secrets and go, but then Lily's small voice came from the hallway. Mommy, who's that? He turned toward her, and something in his face shifted again, like the world stopped being war for half a second. He crouched down, his tone soft. Hey, little one, you staying out of the street now? She nodded, holding her bunny tight. You're the man who saved me. He smiled then, barely, but it was real. Guess I am. And I knew right then that I was already crossing a line. Because when he looked at her, I didn't see danger. I saw safety, the kind I hadn't felt in years. After he left, I stood at the window and watched him disappear into the dark. I told myself I didn't want to see him again, that I didn't trust him. But when my phone buzzed an hour later, I didn't hesitate to answer. His voice came through, low and certain. You locked the back door this time, right? My heart stopped. How do you know? He cut me off. Because I check on the people I save. And just like that, I realized something I couldn't take back. The man who saved my daughter wasn't just a stranger. He was watching us, protecting us, and I didn't know if I should be grateful or terrified. I didn't see him again for 3 days. 3 days of silence, of pretending my life hadn't tilted into something I didn't understand. The burner phone sat on my nightstand, black and still, like a threat and a promise all at once. I'd glance at it every hour, waiting for it to light up, hating that I wanted it to. On the 4th night, I came home to find my front door cracked open. Just enough to feel wrong. My heart stuttered. I pushed Lily behind me, whispered, "Stay here," even though I knew she wouldn't. My hand shook as I picked up the baseball bat from beside the couch. The house smelled like smoke and metal, something foreign, something male. Then his voice came from the kitchen. You should change your locks. I nearly dropped the bat. Adrian stepped out of the shadows, calm, steady, wearing the same black shirt like it was a uniform. He set a small stack of papers on the counter. He found you, he said simply. Your ex. He's in the city. The world blurred. What? How do you know? Because I had him followed, he said like it was obvious. He's been asking around about a woman with a little girl in a red hatchback. That's you. I could barely breathe. You followed him? Why? His gaze fixed on me. Because you don't know what kind of men he's talking to. I hated that his calm made me feel safe. I hated that he moved through my home like he belonged there. You can't just break into people's houses. He tilted his head, almost amused. Would you rather I knocked? Actually, yes. He didn't smile this time. He just nodded once like he accepted the scolding, then walked toward the door. Pack a bag, he said. What? He turned. He's not going to stop looking. You're leaving tonight. With you? Unless you have a better idea, I should have said no. Every instinct in me screamed that trusting him was dangerous. But when I looked at Lily, small, tired, clutching her bunny, I knew I couldn't risk staying. So I packed. Clothes, birth certificate, One framed photo, and the sound of my own heartbeat trying to outrun the truth. He drove us through the night. No music, no small talk. Just headlights carving through silence. Lily fell asleep in the back seat, her hands still tangled in the fur of her stuffed bunny. At one point, I whispered, "Who are you really, Adrian?" He didn't answer for a long time. Finally, he said, "A man who owes someone a debt." "To who?" He glanced at me just once. "Your father." I felt the air leave me. "You knew my dad?" He nodded. "He helped me when he shouldn't have. Paid a price for it. I didn't forget. My father had died when I was 15. Car accident, they said. Quick, clean." But the way Adrian said it, like the story wasn't finished, made my stomach twist. He must have seen the questions forming because he added, "Not tonight." We drove until the sky began to pale. Then he turned off the main road, down a gravel drive that led to a house sitting alone among fields. White stone walls, tall windows, gates that clicked shut behind us. "This is your place?" I asked. He parked and looked straight ahead. "It's where you'll be safe." Inside, everything was spotless. Sparse furniture, hardwood floors that echoed when you walked. Lily ran straight for the living room, giggling when she saw the big windows. I followed slower, the air too quiet. Adrian leaned against the counter, watching me. "You can stay here as long as you need. And you?" "I'll be around." I wanted to ask what around meant, but something about his tone told me not to. Days turned into a strange rhythm. I cooked breakfast for Lily. She watched cartoons on the rug while I tried to remember what normal felt like. And every evening I'd hear the low hum of an engine outside, and he'd appear, sometimes in that same black shirt, sometimes with a jacket that smelled faintly of smoke and leather. He never stayed long at first. Checked the locks, asked if we needed anything, watched Lily laugh like he didn't know what to do with the sound. Then one night, it rained. Not outside, it was the sprinkler system. Lily had tripped it by accident, laughing in the yard while the water sprayed everywhere. She looked up at him, grinning, hair plastered to her forehead. "Come play." He shook his head, smiling faintly. "I don't do wet. Why?" she asked. He hesitated, then said softly, "Because I already live in storms. It shouldn't have meant anything. But it did." That night, after Lily fell asleep, I found him sitting in the kitchen, staring out the window. The light from the stove hood cut across his face, half in shadow, half in memory. "Adrian," I said quietly, "tell me what this really is. Who you are, why you care." He didn't look at me. "You want the truth?" "Yes," he exhaled slowly. "Your ex-husband didn't just hurt you. He's involved with people who move money for men like me. He tried to steal from them. That's why they're looking for him, and anyone close to him." "That includes you," I froze. "Men like you?" He turned finally, meeting my eyes. "I'm not a good man, Claire." I didn't breathe. Didn't blink. "Are you saying you're—" "I'm saying your father knew what I was, and he still helped me. He gave me a name, a clean start. When he died, I owed him a life. When I saw your little girl in that street, I recognized her eyes." My throat tightened. "My father's eyes." He nodded once. "You don't owe me trust. Just safety." But trust had already begun to slip in. Quiet. Dangerous. The kind that sneaks up between fear and gratitude. Over the next weeks, the silence between us changed. It wasn't empty anymore. It was heavy, charged. The air thickened every time our hands brushed when passing a cup of coffee, or when he leaned too close checking the locks. One night, Lily had a nightmare. Screamed so loud I ran into her room half asleep. Adrian was already there, sitting on the edge of her bed, whispering something low. His hand smoothed her hair, gentle, careful, like he was afraid to break something delicate. "She's safe," he murmured to me. When our eyes met in the dark, something shifted. Not a spark, a surrender. Later in the kitchen, I found him again, staring out the window like always. I leaned against the counter. "You don't sleep much, do you?" He shook his head. "People like me don't rest easy. Because of what you've done?" His jaw tightened. "Because of what I might have to do again." I stepped closer. "You're protecting us. I'm protecting your daughter. And me?" He hesitated. You don't want my kind of protection, Claire. It costs too much. I should have walked away. I should have thanked him and gone to bed. But I didn't. I reached out, touched his hand. The moment I did, he froze. For a heartbeat, I thought he'd pull away, but he didn't. His hand turned, fingers closing around mine. Slow, deliberate, dangerous. I told myself I wouldn't do this, he said, voice rough. That I'd keep my distance. But he stopped. Me what? I whispered. He looked up, and the control in his face cracked. You make me forget what I am. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed on the counter. He read the message, and his entire body went still. What is it? He looked up, all trace of softness gone. They found him. Who? Your ex. He's at the docks. And he's not alone. Fear shot through me. Then call the police. Too late for that. He grabbed his jacket, already moving. Adrian, wait. He turned back, eyes burning with something I couldn't name. If I don't come back, you take the girl and leave. The phone I gave you. Call the number marked 1. They'll get you out. Adrian, don't... He stepped closer, cupped my face with a hand that shook just once. I told you, Claire. Protection costs. Then he was gone. The sound of the door closing behind him was too final. I stood in the silence, the house echoing around me like glass ready to break. Lily slept upstairs, unaware the man who'd saved her might not come back. I walked to the window, watched his car vanish into the dark. My heart pounded. My breath caught somewhere between prayer and panic. The burner phone on the counter buzzed once. A single message. He's not coming alone. The words blurred as the screen dimmed. And in that moment, I knew. Whatever this was, whatever he'd pulled us into, it wasn't just survival. He didn't come back that night, or the night after. Every hour stretched into something unbearable. Silence thick enough to choke on. Shadows that felt like they were watching. I kept Lily close, sleeping on the couch with her curled against me, the burner phone clutched in my hand. Every sound outside made me flinch. Every car passing felt like it could be the last one we'd hear before something terrible happened. By the third morning, the house didn't feel like safety anymore. It felt like a trap waiting to spring. I packed Lily's small backpack, stuffed in clothes, snacks, her bunny. I told her we were going on a trip. She smiled, half awake, trusting me completely. That trust was a knife in my chest. Then the phone rang. A number I didn't recognize, but the tone on the other end was one I'd heard before. Steady, controlled, calm, even in the middle of chaos. Adrian's voice. "Don't open the door," he said. I froze. "Adrian, where are you?" "Outside." I ran to the window. His car was parked at the end of the drive, headlights off. The dawn light caught the bruises on his face as he stepped out. His shirt was torn, his hand bandaged, his eyes darker than I'd ever seen them. I opened the door anyway. He didn't speak at first. Just looked at me like he wasn't sure I was real. Then he stepped forward, brushing past me, checking the windows, the locks, the hallways. Automatic, efficient. When he finally turned back, he exhaled. "It's done." "What's done?" I asked, voice shaking. "Your ex. The people he brought. They won't touch you again." There was something final in his tone, something cold. I wanted to ask what done meant, but the words wouldn't come. I didn't need to. His hands were scraped raw, his knuckles split. There was blood on his sleeve, some of it his, some not. He saw the way I looked at him and said quietly, "Don't ask me for details you don't want." He was right. I didn't want them. I wanted it to be over. I wanted to believe him when he said it was. But deep down, I knew nothing about Adrian was ever that simple. He leaned against the wall, his body sagging under the weight of something more than exhaustion. "You and the kid can go back to your life now." "What life?" I asked. "The one where I hide from everything?" He didn't answer. I stepped closer, feeling the pull I'd been fighting since the first night he walked into my world. "You think you can just disappear now? After all of this?" He looked down, jaw tight. "That's what I do, Claire. I clean things up and I disappear." I shook my head. Not this time. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The morning light crept through the windows, soft and quiet, and for once it didn't feel like a threat. It felt like an ending, one neither of us were ready for. Lily came running into the room then, still in her pajamas, hair messy, smile bright. "You came back," she said, running straight to him before I could stop her. Adrian stiffened when her arms wrapped around his leg. Then slowly he crouched down, meeting her eyes. "Told you I would," she grinned. "Mom said you were helping us." He smiled back, tired and soft. "Your mom's right." And in that small exchange, something inside me broke. Not from pain this time, from relief. The kind that hurts because it's been buried too long. For the first time in years, I wasn't running. I wasn't hiding. I was breathing. After Lily went to play, I found Adrian in the kitchen, washing the blood from his hands. The water turned pink, then clear again. His reflection in the window looked older than before. Haunted, worn, human. "You should get that looked at," I said quietly. He glanced at me. "It'll heal." I stepped closer, reached for his hand. "You always say that. About everything." He didn't pull away this time. I wrapped the bandage tighter, my fingers brushing his skin. When I looked up, his gaze caught mine and held it. "I don't know what happens next," I whispered. He exhaled, a rough, broken sound. Neither do I. The silence that followed wasn't heavy anymore. It was honest. He stayed for 3 more days. No plans, no threats, just quiet. We made breakfast together. He fixed the creaky step by the porch. He watched Lily draw with chalk on the driveway. His expression unreadable but softer than I'd ever seen. It was the kind of peace that doesn't last. We both knew it. On the last night we sat outside after Lily had gone to bed. The field stretched out under the stars, still and wide. The air smelled of grass and distant smoke. Adrian spoke first. "When I was a kid, I used to think people like me couldn't change. That we were built wrong." I turned toward him. "And now?" He looked at me, the faintest smile at the corner of his mouth. "Now I think maybe we just need someone to believe otherwise." The words hit something deep inside me, because I'd spent years believing the same thing about myself. That I was broken, too far gone, too used to running to ever stop. I reached for his hand, fingers threading through his. "Then stay," he went still. I could feel the war behind his eyes, the part of him that wanted to stay, and the part that knew he couldn't. "I can't," he said finally. "If I do, they'll come looking again. For me. For you." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. "Then go. But don't you dare pretend you saved me just to disappear." He turned toward me, the edge of pain in his voice cutting through the quiet. "You think I saved you?" "You did," I whispered. "You saved both of us." He shook his head. "No, Claire. You were already saving yourself. I just happened to be there when you finally decided to stop running." He kissed me then, not like in the movies, not desperate or dramatic, just soft, real, the kind of kiss that says goodbye without saying the word. And then he was gone. No note, no message, just his jacket hanging on the chair by the door and a quiet that lingered like an afterimage. Weeks passed. I found a small job in town. Lily started school again. We planted flowers by the porch, her idea. Every morning, she'd water them, humming to herself, sunlight in her hair. Life began to stretch itself out again, cautiously, like a wound trying to heal. Sometimes I'd catch myself listening for the sound of an engine outside. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and think I heard his voice in the hall, but he never came back. Not then. 3 months later, I was walking Lily home from school when I saw him, across the street. Standing beside a black car, watching us. He looked different. No bruises this time. Clean shirt, eyes clearer. When our gazes met, something unspoken passed between us. Lily spotted him first. "Mom, it's him!" He smiled faintly and crossed the road. She ran to him before I could stop her, and he lifted her easily, spinning her once. She giggled, bright and free. "You came back," she said. "Promised I would, didn't I?" He set her down gently and turned to me. "You look good." "So do you," I said. "Better than before," he nodded. Things changed. I walked away from that world. I searched his face for truth. Found it there, quiet but steady. And now? He looked past me to Lily, then back. Now I just want to see if peace suits me. I felt something in my chest loosen. Maybe it was forgiveness. Maybe it was hope. Maybe they're the same thing. We didn't talk about the past. We didn't need to. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was full. That night, after Lily fell asleep, we sat on the porch again. The stars looked exactly the same as the night he left, but we weren't. I used to think love was supposed to hurt, I said. That if it didn't, it wasn't real. He turned to me, voice low. And now I think real love is what's left when everything else burns down. He reached over, his hand finding mine in the dark. That's all I've ever wanted, he said. For a long moment, we just sat there breathing in the quiet, the kind of quiet that didn't feel empty anymore. Lily stirred inside, calling softly for me. I stood and he followed, pausing at the doorway. You sure you're ready for me to stay? He asked. I smiled, tired but certain. You already do, he exhaled, a sound that wasn't relief exactly, but something close. Something like coming home. The wind moved through the open windows, carrying the scent of flowers and faint laughter. And for the first time in years, I realized I wasn't waiting for the next disaster. I was just here, alive, whole, not perfect, but loved, because sometimes the man who walks into your life out of nowhere doesn't save you from the fire. He walks with you through it. And what's left, after all the ashes and the scars, isn't ruin. It's proof you survived. If her story reached you, if you felt the fear, the ache, and the kind of love that rebuilds what life once broke, stay with us. Subscribe for more stories told like secrets you were never meant to hear. Every week, another voice, another confession, another heart that learned to survive. I never meant for the letter to reach him. It was supposed to be my way out, a final whisper into the void, a way to close something I should have never opened. I wrote it in the dark, on the edge of a mattress that smelled like his cologne and smoke, with hands still shaking from what I'd seen that night. I wrote, I can't love a man who kills for a living. I can't breathe around you anymore. I folded it, sealed it, and prayed he'd never see it. But he did, and when it came back, the paper was smeared with something that wasn't ink. Just one word across my handwriting, denied. That was 2 nights ago. Now I'm hiding in a cheap motel off the interstate, still half-dressed from when I ran. My phone's off, the curtains are shut, and I can still feel him everywhere. The way he watched me the night I told him I was done. The stillness before the storm. I remember his voice, calm, low, the kind of tone that made the air feel heavy. You don't get to end this, sweetheart. Not like that. I thought he was bluffing. I thought all that control, that quiet power, was just an act. But nothing about Nico Moretti was an act. Not the way he looked at me like he owned my pulse, or the way his men stopped talking the second he entered a room. He never raised his voice. He didn't need to. His silence could break bones. I keep replaying that night in my head. The night everything snapped. We were at his penthouse, the one with the glass walls and the view of the river. I'd spent weeks pretending I could live in that world of sharp suits and whispered deals, pretending the blood on his cuffs didn't bother me. But when I saw him drag that man by the collar through his own hallway, I knew something in me had cracked. Nico didn't even look angry, just efficient, controlled. Like he was fixing a problem, not ending a life. When it was over, he found me standing by the window, frozen. He just said, "You weren't supposed to see that." I didn't answer. I couldn't. My chest felt hollow, and he walked past me, poured himself a drink, as if we hadn't just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. That's when I decided to leave. I packed while he slept, the sound of his slow breathing behind me. My hands shook so hard I dropped my keys twice. When I looked at him one last time, something inside me still wanted to stay. That's what kills me even now, that twisted part of me that loved the man who terrified me. But I left. I mailed the letter from a gas station 2 towns over. I thought I was free. Until the knock. It was past midnight when it came. 3 slow taps. Deliberate. I didn't open the door. I just listened, breath caught in my throat. Then came his voice, quiet, steady, close. "You forgot something, baby." I froze. My heartbeat turned to noise. He shouldn't have been able to find me. I hadn't used my real name to check in. I hadn't told anyone where I was going. But that's the thing about men like him. They find what they want. Always. I heard the envelope slide under the door. The paper scraped the floor like a whisper. I stared at it for a full minute before picking it up. My handwriting, his mark. Denied. Written across it, thick and red. When I opened the door, he was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I sat against the wall, knees to my chest, reading that single word over and over until it blurred. It wasn't a threat. It was a verdict. And somehow that scared me more, because Nico never needed to threaten. He meant things. By morning, I knew running wouldn't work. I'd seen what happened to people who tried to cross him, but still I couldn't go back. My pride was the only thing I had left, even if it was breaking me. The second knock came the next night. This time, when I looked through the peephole, he was standing there. Black shirt, top button undone, sleeves rolled up like he'd come straight from some meeting he shouldn't have survived. His eyes, dark, steady, met mine through the glass. He didn't look angry, just tired. "Open the door, Lily," I whispered. "Go away." His jaw tightened, but his tone didn't rise. "You know I won't." The silence stretched. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. "Please, Nico," I said, voice shaking. "Just let me go." He ran a hand through his hair, a rare crack in his armor. "You think I can do that? After everything?" "You don't love me," I whispered. Something flickered in his eyes. "You think that's what this is?" He stepped closer to the door, his shadow swallowing the light from the hallway. "You think I'd burn half the city looking for you because I don't love you?" I didn't answer. My breath hitched, and that was enough for him. "Open the door," he said again, quieter now, "or I'll take it off its hinges." The steel in his voice made my chest tighten. He wasn't bluffing. He never did. I turned the lock, but my hand shook so bad it clicked twice before it opened. He stepped inside like he still lived there, like the space obeyed him. His eyes scanned the room, then found me. "You've been crying," he said, and the softness in his voice broke something in me. "You shouldn't be here. Neither should you," he said. "Not in this place. Not alone." I took a step back. "I'm not yours to protect anymore." He smiled, but it wasn't warmth. It was pain, hidden behind control. "You think love is something I can turn off because you wrote it down on paper?" I wanted to scream, to tell him I wasn't scared of him, that I hated what he made me feel. But the truth was, I didn't hate it. I hated myself for needing it, for needing him. He reached into his coat and pulled out the letter. "You want to end this," he said. "You do it to my face." "I did," I whispered. "Try again." I stared at him, tears burning behind my eyes. "I can't do this anymore, Nico. You're not the man I thought you were." He looked at me for a long time, like he was memorizing the words before they cut. Then he said, "And you're not the girl who flinched when I told her the truth." Something inside me cracked open. "You killed a man in front of me." "I kept him from hurting you," he said. "You think I wanted you to see that? You think I wanted you to look at me like this? I don't know what to think anymore." He moved closer, slow, deliberate. I should have stepped back, but my body wouldn't obey. "You don't have to think," he said quietly. "Just breathe." His hand reached for my face, and I caught his wrist before he touched me. "Don't." He froze, and for the first time I saw something raw in his eyes. Not anger, not pride, just hurt. "I never wanted to be this for you," he said, voice breaking at the edges. "But I can't let you go, Lily. You don't walk out of my life with a letter." "I'm not yours," I said again, but it sounded like a lie. He leaned in, close enough for his breath to brush my cheek. "You were mine the second you looked me in the eye and didn't look away." I wanted to deny it, to shove him away, to make him feel the fear I felt every time his name crossed someone's lips. But I couldn't. Because under the fear was something worse. Truth. When he finally pulled back, his voice dropped lower. "You'll come home tomorrow. Pack your things. I'll send someone." I'm not going anywhere with you. He smiled again. That quiet, deadly kind of smile that promised the world and burned it down. You already have. Then he left. No threats, no shouting, just the soft click of the door. I stood there for what felt like hours, staring at the letter still in my hand. My name on one side, his mark on the other. Blood red. Final. I didn't cry. Not that night. Not even when I realized he was right. That no matter how far I ran, I was still his. And maybe that's what terrified me most, because part of me didn't want to stop being his. The next morning, I woke up to silence that felt staged. Not peaceful, just waiting. The kind of quiet that knows what comes next. I hadn't slept much. Just drifted between memories and fear until sunlight leaked through the curtains. For a few minutes, I thought maybe he'd meant what he said. I'll send someone. Maybe I'd have time to think, to breathe, to decide if I was strong enough to disappear again. Then the phone on the nightstand buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I didn't answer. It rang again, then a third time. I picked up on the fourth. "Pack a bag," a man's voice said. "Mr. Moretti's waiting." I hung up. My hands trembled. 2 minutes later, tires screeched outside the motel. I didn't look. I just started packing, because defiance felt stupid now, not brave. I'd already seen what happened when people said no to him. By the time I stepped outside, 2 men in suits stood by a black car. They didn't speak. One opened the door and I slid in. The air inside smelled faintly of smoke and cologne, the same scent that haunted my pillow. He was waiting in the back seat. Black shirt again, sleeves rolled, watch glinting in the light. His eyes met mine in the reflection of the tinted glass. Calm. Too calm. "You didn't have to send your men," I said. He looked at me, expression unreadable. "You wouldn't have come otherwise." "Because I don't belong in your world." He didn't respond. Just turned his head, studying me like he was counting my heartbeats. "You look tired." "I haven't been sleeping. Because you miss me." I laughed under my breath. "Because I'm afraid of what you'll do next." He leaned back, resting his arm on the window. "Fear keeps you honest. And love?" His eyes flicked toward me. "Love keeps you alive." The car fell silent. I watched the streets blur outside, the city shifting from concrete to river roads, and with every turn, I knew we were heading toward his penthouse. I didn't ask why. I already knew. Nico didn't like unfinished business. When we arrived, the guard stepped aside without a word. The elevator ride up felt endless. My pulse matched the hum of the walls. I could feel him watching me. Not lust, not anger, just possession. He opened the door to the penthouse himself. Everything was the same. The glass walls, the skyline, the whiskey on the counter. But it felt colder now, stripped of illusion. "Sit," he said quietly. I didn't move. "What is this, Nico?" He poured 2 glasses, handed one to me. "A conversation. About what?" He studied the drink in his hand, then looked at me. "About how a letter almost cost me everything." "You still have everything," I said. "Your money, your power," he cut me off. "You think any of that means a damn thing without you in it?" His tone wasn't loud, but it hit like a blow. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard him right. "You're serious?" He set the glass down. "I don't play with words." I wanted to believe it was manipulation, that he was saying what he knew I wanted to hear. But the way his voice broke slightly, barely, made me hesitate. "You think loving you excuses what you've done?" I asked. "No," he said simply. "But it explains it. That's not love. That's control." He took a slow step forward. "If I wanted control, you'd never have left." Something in me flinched. He noticed. His jaw tightened. "Don't mistake my restraint for weakness," he said softly. "I let you go once because I thought you'd come back. You didn't. So now I'm here, making sure you understand. There's no leaving without me letting it happen." I felt anger spike through the fear. "You can't own people, Nico." He smiled faintly. "Then why do I feel like you already belong to me?" I swallowed hard, trying not to break under the weight of his gaze. "Because you built a cage around me and called it love." He went quiet for a long moment. Then softly, If that's true, why do you still look at me like this? I didn't answer. My silence told him everything. He moved closer, slow, careful, until he was inches away. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. His breath brushed my ear. "You can't, can you?" That's when I broke. "I hate you," I said, voice shaking. "I know," he said. "It means I still matter." The words hit harder than any threat. I turned away, but he caught my wrist, gentle, not forceful. His thumb traced the pulse under my skin. "You think this is a choice for me?" he said quietly. "You think I wanted to love someone who could destroy me just by leaving?" I stared at him. "You destroyed yourself the day you chose this life." He released my wrist, stepped back. "Maybe, but you're the only thing that makes it worth living." For the first time, I saw something fragile in him, like the armor had cracked just enough to show the man underneath. But before I could say anything, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, face hardening instantly. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer. "Just walked to the window." "Get your things," he said. "We're leaving," my stomach tightened. "Why?" He turned, eyes darker now. "Because someone found out about you." The words didn't make sense at first. Then they did. "You mean, someone knows you were here. They think you're leverage." I felt the blood drain from my face. Leverage for what? For me. The room shifted. My fear turned to disbelief. "Nico, I can't. You don't have to do anything," he said. "You just have to trust me." "I don't trust you." He gave a short, bitter laugh. "You don't have to. Just stay alive." The elevator opened before I could reply. 2 of his men waited with weapons drawn, eyes scanning every corner. The air felt charged, dangerous. He took my hand, not roughly, but with purpose, and led me toward the elevator. His grip was steady, grounding, and I hated how much comfort it gave me. When the doors closed, he turned to me. "Whatever happens, you don't run." I nodded, though my throat felt tight. The ride down was silent except for the hum of the machinery and the pounding of my heart. When the doors opened again, we were in the underground garage. The moment we stepped out, gunfire shattered the air. I screamed, dropped low instinctively. Nico's hand shoved me behind a car, his body shielding mine. The echo of bullets filled the space, glass breaking somewhere above. "Stay down," he barked. His men fired back, shouts, footsteps, chaos. Then, silence. He turned to me, breathing hard, eyes scanning my face. "You okay?" I nodded, though my voice was gone. He wiped blood from his arm. It wasn't his, and stood. "They followed us," he said quietly. "They knew we'd move. Who? Someone who thinks I'm weak now. Because of me?" He looked at me, jaw tight. "Because they think you make me human." He pulled out his phone, made a call. "Clean it up. No one leaves breathing." Then he hung up and grabbed my hand again. "We're not safe here." We drove for an hour without speaking. The city lights fell away until there was only highway and dark forest. My mind spun with questions, but the only one that mattered pressed at my throat. "Why didn't you let me go?" He didn't look at me. "Because you're the only part of me that isn't broken." The words hit like truth and lie at once. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to feel nothing. But all I felt was the weight of his hand still holding mine. The steadiness of it. The danger of what that steadiness cost. When he finally stopped the car, we were at a cabin by the river. Secluded. Quiet. Too quiet. "This is where you'll stay," he said, "until I fix this. And you?" He hesitated. "I'll finish what I started." I stepped closer, the anger and fear twisting into something unsteady. "You mean the killing, the war, the life that's eating you alive?" He met my eyes. "If it keeps you safe, I'll burn everything else." "Nico." He stepped forward, cupped my face, his touch trembling for the first time. "Don't say my name like that," he whispered. "I'll never walk away if you do." For a heartbeat, the world held still. His lips were inches away, the space between us burning with everything unsaid. Then he pulled back, eyes dark with something like surrender. "You were right," he said. "I don't know how to love you without destroying everything around me." He turned, walked out into the night. The sound of the car starting echoed against the trees. I stood in the doorway, shaking, the taste of his words still on my lips. I wanted to run after him. I wanted to stop him, but I couldn't. Because for the first time I understood. Love wasn't saving us anymore. It was killing us slowly, and somehow I still wanted him to come back. It's been 8 months since the night he left. 8 months since the sound of his car faded into the dark, and I stood in the doorway of that cabin, barefoot and shaking, holding the silence like it was something alive. I thought he'd come back in a week, then 2, then a month. He didn't. What came instead were rumors. Quiet, poisonous things that traveled faster than truth. That Nico Moretti had been killed in a shootout near the docks. That his empire was crumbling. That his men were turning on each other without him to hold them in line. I didn't go looking for him. Not because I stopped caring, but because I finally understood what he meant when he said he had to finish what he started. It wasn't about vengeance or business. It was about freeing me from the world that had swallowed him whole. The cabin became my world after that. Days blurred into one another. Coffee gone cold. The river's quiet rhythm. The ache of waiting. I learned how to live with silence. I stopped checking my phone. I stopped hoping. Some mornings I even convinced myself I didn't miss him, that the hollow inside me was healing, that maybe love could survive without the man. But then the dreams would come. His voice, his hand on my face, the letter. Denied. I'd wake up gasping, half believing he was standing there in the dark again. He wasn't. The first real sign came in winter. A black SUV parked at the edge of the property. A man stepped out, left a small box on the porch, and drove away. No note, no words. Just the box. Inside was my letter. Creased, worn, but clean now. No blood, no mark. Just a new word scrawled across the back in his handwriting. Free. I didn't know what that meant. If he was alive. If he was saying goodbye. Or if free meant I'd never see him again. The next few weeks passed in a strange kind of limbo. I started working again. Small bookkeeping jobs I could do remotely. It felt normal, almost safe. But even as I tried to rebuild something that looked like a life, there were moments when I'd stop mid-sentence or mid-breath and feel him. That awareness that never really left. Then one evening in early spring, I heard footsteps on the gravel outside. I froze. The sound was unhurried, steady, familiar. I wanted to believe it was my mind playing tricks. But when I opened the door, he was there. Nico. He looked older, leaner. His black shirt was wrinkled. Sleeves rolled like always, but his eyes, those dark, relentless eyes, were different. Quieter somehow. For a second I couldn't move. Neither of us spoke. Then he said, voice low and hoarse, "You still leave the porch light on." I swallowed hard. "I thought you were dead." He nodded once. So did I. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full. Of everything we'd never said, everything we'd broken trying to love each other. He took a step forward. I didn't back away this time. "I didn't come to take you back," he said. "You don't owe me anything." The words hit something deep in me. "Then why are you here?" His gaze flicked down, then back up. "Because I had to see you breathing." I felt tears sting, but I didn't let them fall. "You can't just walk in after all this time and—" "I know." He cut me off gently. "But I need you to hear something before I disappear for good." I waited. He exhaled slowly, like the words hurt coming out. "The night I left, I burned it all. Every deal, every tie, every man who thought they owned me. There's nothing left of that life now. Not one piece of it touches you." My chest tightened. "And what's left of you?" He gave a tired half smile. "Just the part that remembers how to feel." Something in me broke then. Not from pain, just release. I stepped forward until I was close enough to smell the smoke still clinging to him. "You could have sent a message," I whispered. "I couldn't risk it." "You let me think you were dead." He nodded. "You were safer that way." I looked at him, really looked. The man standing in front of me wasn't the one I'd fallen in love with. He was quieter, raw, stripped of the armor that used to make him untouchable. "I don't know what to say to you," I said finally. "Then don't." His voice softened. "Just tell me you're okay." I wanted to say yes, but lying to him felt wrong now. "I'm getting there." He nodded again, almost like that was enough. Good. We stood there in silence, the night pressing close around us. Then I said the one thing I'd promised myself I wouldn't ask. What happens now? His eyes held mine. Now you live. You forget my name if you can. You find something better than what I ever gave you. I shook my head. You don't get to decide that anymore. A ghost of a smile tugged at his mouth. You sound like me? Maybe I did. Maybe part of him had always been buried in my voice, in the way I fought to survive him and loved him anyway. He turned to leave, but I caught his sleeve. Wait, he stopped, eyes on my hand. I never told you, I said, words trembling. When I wrote that letter, I didn't want to leave you. I just wanted to save the part of me you hadn't ruined yet. He looked at me for a long time, and then his hand covered mine. Warm, steady, human. You did, he said quietly. You saved both of us, and then he let go. He walked down the steps, the gravel crunching under his boots. I wanted to call out, to make him stay, but something in me knew this was the only way it could end. When he reached the edge of the drive, he turned back one last time. You were right that night, he said. You don't belong in my world, but for a while you made it feel like home. Then he was gone. I didn't cry this time. I just stood there until the wind picked up, carrying the faint scent of smoke and something familiar. For the first time, it didn't hurt. It just was. Weeks passed, then months. Seasons shifted again. The cabin became less a hiding place and more a life. I started planting a garden by the porch, painting the walls, fixing the broken things he never had time to fix. Every nail, every brushstroke felt like reclaiming a piece of myself I'd buried under his shadow. Some nights I'd sit by the river and talk to him like he could hear me. Not the man he was, the man he tried to be. I'd tell him I forgave him, even if forgiveness felt too simple for what we were. Because love like ours didn't end clean. It lingered in the cracks. It haunted quietly, but it didn't destroy anymore. 6 months after his visit, I got another letter. No return address, just my name in his handwriting. Inside was a single photograph of a house by the ocean, sunlight breaking through the windows. On the back, 2 words, "It's yours." I stared at it for a long time, not because I wanted what he gave, but because I finally understood what he meant by free. It wasn't about leaving him, it was about becoming someone who could live after him. So I packed the few things that mattered, locked the cabin, and drove toward the coast. The drive was long, quiet, steady, somewhere between the mountains and the ocean. I realized I wasn't running anymore. When I reached the house, it was exactly like the photo. Simple, peaceful. The kind of place you build a life in, not hide from one. I stood in the doorway, sunlight spilling across the floor, and for the first time in years, I felt still. Sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear footsteps outside. A soft knock. 3 taps. My heart still stops for a second every time. But when I open the door, there's no one there. Just the wind and the sea. I tell myself it's memory playing tricks. But part of me hopes it's him. Alive. Watching from a distance. Making sure I kept my promise to live. Because somehow, despite everything, we did what neither of us thought possible. We loved, we survived, and we let each other go. I'm not the same woman who wrote that letter. I'm not the girl who thought she could fix a man made of fire. I'm something quieter now. Stronger. And when I think of him, it isn't pain anymore. It's gratitude. He gave me a story that almost destroyed me, but it also rebuilt me. And when I whisper his name into the dark, I know he hears it, somewhere between the ashes and the ocean. Somehow, after everything, we found our way home. If this story reached somewhere quiet inside you, stay. There are more stories like this, raw, confessional, the kind that bruise before they heal. Subscribe. Listen. Let the next secret find you.